things kicked off here. A mentor of mine, a friend, an incredible advocate for our mission, and a great business person and resident here in our community, Todd Allman, our board chair.
Good afternoon. I'm Todd Allman, as Levi said, board chair here at GoggleWorks. Thank you for being here today to support us on this really important announcement. Something magical happens within these walls. But as many of you know, GoggleWorks is not just about bricks and mortar. It's a spirit, it's a cause, it's a belief. We believe that together we can transform lives through unique interactions with art. The mere act of making your mark and making something with your hands can literally change the trajectory of someone's life. It can give us a sense of self-worth, empowerment, and belief in oneself. The GoggleWorks experience is one of inspiration, hope, and possibility. Today we are here to announce our bold plans to redesign an acre of outdoor space around our campus as a public art park. Thank you. The art park is bold, it's comprehensive, and a testament to our mission. Planning and construction will take place over several years, through several phases, and with deep engagement with our community. As many of you know, that has already happened. Our goal is to make GoggleWorks a beacon of creativity. When someone steps on our campus, we want visitors to immediately feel a sense of awe and wonder befitting what happens within these walls. Our hope is that our transformed campus will inspire our guests to take that first step to make their mark. To our current stakeholders and partners, thank you for your support and belief in our mission. Our future is bright and assured, and we've been able to extend and broaden how art is defined because of all of you. To our future supporters, increased financial support will allow us to make the opportunity of GoggleWorks available to more members of the community. This is a matter of accessibility. In my mind, everyone deserves the right to be inspired and to achieve one's greater self. Please help us make that beacon of creativity a little bit brighter. I'd like now to welcome Levi Landis up to the podium. He's going to share some critical details about our new arts park and share some exciting news.
4 years ago, a young student named Maria, not our fabulous exhibiting artist tonight, but a young student artist named Maria wandered out a door into an alley right to the east of our building called Thorn Alley. And she asked a question. ¿Por qué no hay arte aquí? Why is there no art out here? And it was funny at the time because she had just seen 150,000 square feet of inside spaces where art happens. But later, and I'm proud to say, we have the team here to facilitate this kind of thing, but later we started to pull up that question just a little bit. What does that mean? What does art mean to the people that surround us here in our community? What do walls separate? And today we're determined that walls, no matter how grand, they can't contain the transformational power of art. And so, flash forward 4 years later, and here we are announcing that over multiple phases and community planned, community co-designed, we intend to transform about an acre of outdoor space, currently neglected, a blighted alley, a gravel lot, the space you're standing in right now, into a park. but not just any park, a place where art can happen, where our partners and our studio artists and the people in this building and that surround us in this city and in this county can come and change our community. And that change comes based on the needs that we hear, listening, learning more from our community. And that's something that over the last 4 years we've done a lot of. I'm going to share some more details as we go, but I do want to welcome up a handful of dignitaries that simply this would not have happened, or we wouldn't be here today if they wouldn't have helped champion this process. So I'm going to welcome up our city leaders, and as I introduce them, I'd like you to make your way, Mr. Mayor and Ms. Council President. If you don't mind standing up here for me. Over that 4-year period, a lot of things happened. We all know there was an incredible pandemic, public health emergency, and that drew us outside. But at the same time, we had changes in leadership that brightened our community, and folks that would champion and advocate for us stepping outside these spaces and making art more accessible, more connected, more activated here in the city. Mr. Mayor here was a champion of this effort and continues to champion this effort. His work and honestly his support has meant the world for us in making sure that we're listening of how we can be a better neighbor, how we can be more impactful for our residents and those that visit the city. I'll ask he and then Ms. Cepeda Fretiz to share a little bit about why they find this so compelling, but I'll tell you a little bit about her if I get a chance here too. When this project was starting, right around the time Maria walked out that door, Johanny was on the phone with me saying, "You gotta get outside." I was asking her about a food festival. She said, "That's great, you can do it inside. Why don't you go outside?" Every question I'd ask her, "Why don't you go outside? Why don't you go outside?" And she got this way before I did, right? So folks like Mr. Mayor and Ms. Council President, they're not only instrumental in the way we get it done, but the way we think about the work that we do. So I welcome up the Honorable Eddie Marion.
Thank you. Good evening. Buenas tardes a todos. Thank you for having me and allowing me to be a part of this grandiose announcement. In a few moments, you'll hear in more details and see the development plans for our downtown. And I have to say, it is spectacular. Probably that's an understatement, but I'll leave it at that. I personally want to recognize the enormous contributions GoggleWorks makes to our city in countless ways. You are a great neighbor, especially to Lawrence Park Elementary School. It's no secret where my heart is when it comes to the youth. And you have created a garden with the students to grow fresh produce, which is an opportunity for our kids will cherish for years to come. Thank you for that. You are a good steward to our city, bringing world-renowned artists to Reading and housing local artists every day. And for that, I thank you. You notice the GoggleWorks plan goes beyond the arts, intending to foster an environment of love for our community, infectious growth, and caring for the place we call home. And that is everything I care for, believe in, and strive to build every day for our city residents here in Reading. This development is clear evidence of Reading's potential. Let me say that again. It's clear evidence of Reading's potential because we are not done yet. I personally have supported this project from the moment it was made aware of, and will continue to do so until I see its completion. You have my word on that. I am tremendously grateful for all the partners in our City Council President, thank you, Council Commissioners, the Board, business owner, Ms. Sandy Solomon. My God, what a champion you guys have on your side. And in fact, I was not aware that she was abroad, and I called her about a half hour ago, and she picked up the phone from Italy. So that kind of made me feel good. I also cannot stop without acknowledging the DoubleTree and his staff. Mr. Paul, thank you so much. And everyone that has played an integral part in this dream. You're showing others that it's worth it to invest here in Reading, that our community deserves better spaces, that through art we can inspire and transform for good. This is our time. This is our moment. This is Reading's moment. And I cannot wait to see what this project will spark in other visionaries. Thank you. I want to thank each and every one of you, especially the people involved, for never stop believing that we can build a better Reading together. Thank you so much. May God bless you all.
I guess it's my turn. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, GoggleWorks. Levi, I want to personally thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to Maria. Thank you for listening to your community. Thank you for coming outside to listening and to exploring and assessing the needs of our community. Because for years, since my arrival, and I've been here as a business owner for over 15 years, I've always seen this building and this art facility with a tremendous potential to do so much more than what it has done. And it's been such a hidden treasure for so many years. And I'm so thankful that for the past years, you have come outside and that you are engaging our community and that you are connecting and building relationships and you're letting know our neighbors, your neighbors, the GoggleWorks neighbors, because I'm also a neighbor, I live right up the street, that you're here and that art is stimulating, art is invigorating, art is inspiring. It's also healing, and it's also has the capacity and the ability to transform community. And that is what this is all about. I am extremely excited. I can't wait for the grand opening of this art park. Thank you for the work that you do with Roberts Park, with the community garden, right here at the Burks Lodge. Thank you for the movie nights, right? Bring your own lawn chair. Instead of a drive-in, we have a walk-in movie theater last summer, I remember. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you to your board for supporting your efforts and engaging our community as well. I'm excited. You have a partner in me, in City Council, obviously with the mayor, even on behalf of the community. We're excited. We look forward to and can't wait to your grand opening because I am looking forward to us having that dinner out on the lot under the stars, right? With a band, dancing. Remember that vision I shared with you. So again, thank you again, and thank you for the work you do, and congratulations.
I'm sensitive to the fact that everyone's saying my name a lot, and there's a lot of other people to talk about. In fact, you'll probably see my sons later, and I say this sometimes. One time he banged a guitar that I helped design with Martin Guitar, and I sat him down and said, please be really careful with this, and I explained how it was made and the importance of it. And after I was done, he tapped me on the leg and he said, Dad, I want to thank you for your little presentation. He's 4, now he's 5. But all that to say, this is more than me. I hope everyone realizes that. I get to speak up here. I get to hear dignitaries say my name, but they're mentioning things that were ideas that came from this group. They're mentioning names and activities that came from this brilliant staff and volunteers that we have. You heard from Mr. Allman. You're going to hear from another board member, Dr. Ridley, and you heard that Sandy Solomon couldn't be here. And I want to mention her because she's the hero of this project. Right around the same time that Maria was walking out that door and asking why there's no art out here, she was dreaming up ways to make this feel less like a factory. And so we started to kind of culminate around these ideas of what's called placemaking. How can you create place out of nothing? How can you take unforgiving spaces like this and turn them into green space that can help and support the community development that we so badly want and desire? So I want to thank her and all the board members and staff that are here. And then I want to welcome up our county commissioners. As I ask them to come up here, I'll say a few words about their involvement here. I'll bury the lead a little bit and simply say that Commissioner Leinbach has been supportive of this effort since its inception, and for years and years we've been so grateful for the support of the city and the county because we really see it as our mission to go into every corner of this county and beyond to invigorate people with the power of the arts. and Commissioner Linebaugh has done that, and we're so happy to have him here with us today. Commissioner Rivera, I was new to meet you in the last year. We were so excited by this project, and it gave us renewed interest in saying, why can't we go out and talk to every single representative? And that's what we did. We earned the support of every representative that we have because everybody wants to see this happen. It's not political. It's not going to cost a whole lot of money comparatively to things that could have this level of impact. And it's just breathtaking what we can do. And, of course, they were one of the first people to give a gift to this project, $500,000 to support phase 1 of this project. So I welcome to the stage Commissioner Chair Linebaugh.
Thank you very much, Levi. As I prepared for this event, I thought back for those of us that are older, and I include myself in that, this building was Wilson Safety all my life. In fact, it was Wilson Safety for over 100 years. When I took office, 2 of the first people to come see me were Marlon Miller and Albert Boskov to talk to me about the GoggleWorks. We always must remember we stand on the shoulders of those that came before us. If it wasn't for those 2 gentlemen and others involved with that vision, Levi and Todd and the current board wouldn't be here today. And I remember last year when Todd and Levi came to visit me, not to ask for money, but to tell me about the work of GoggleWorks, to tell me about this vision. And when I was done, I said, I'm kind of a little shocked you're not asking for money, but they wanted me to know what was going on here and that they were going to a new step and a new stage. I also want you to know the $500,000, we were thrilled to be able to give it to this project. To put it into perspective, Michael knows, and Kevin Barnhart would be here, Kevin is dealing in an election meeting. Need I say anything else? He would have been here. He asked me to recognize that he wanted to be here and couldn't make it. But all 3 of us support this project. But at the beginning of this year, we had over $120 million in requests for money from the American Rescue Plan money. Our total monies are $81.6 million. We then went through the application process, and when we did that, we have Kara Mayo here. She oversaw that process, along with Pamela Shupp-Mennett. We went through and we looked at the rules for ARP and the rules that we put together for this particular round. We had $18.4 million available. We ended up with $34 to $35 million worth of qualified projects. To put that in perspective, when we got the CARES money and we allocated the CARES money, the amount of money we had and the amount of requests we had were equal. So we didn't have to say no to anybody. We had to say no to a lot of applications. And I took you through that process so that you understand that the review committee, apart from the commissioners, saw the value of this project, not just short term, but long term for this community. The value of the arts, the value of art education, not just for K through 12, for all of the people in our community. Yes, it's here in Reading, but as I point out to people, Reading is the county seat of Berks County. It's the 4th largest city in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we have the GoggleWorks here. And because of the city, because of the county, because of many of you, because of people whose shoulders we stand on, like Albert, like Marlon, and others, we are here today to celebrate the future of the GoggleWorks. Thank you for all you do. Levi, you're a great leader. Todd, you lead a great board. Thank you for everything you're doing. God bless.
Talk a little bit now about the project itself. I won't belabor it because we've given a lot of information in these packets that you can go through, but I do want to mention a couple of things about where we're going and how we arrived here. So I mentioned that it's going to happen in phases. The most aggressive of those, well, that's over there, sorry, that's not me. The most aggressive we'll get to in a minute, but I want to start with the space that we're in right now. The concept of this space, when Mr. Lee Olson, who is going to come up here and join us in a little bit, helped renovate this project some 15 years ago or more, had even pitched ideas to take place in this space and ways to even spread the work that we were doing, redesigning out into the community. And the project got so large that it was simply too difficult to tackle at that time. I'm happy to say we understand that this process is so vital to inviting the community in. We could treat it as a park and we could scale it and use it to pilot programs to see how they do. And in fact, we've been doing that for about 4 years now, or about 2 years now anyway. Pop-ups, placemaking projects. The Why Missing Foundation helped us purchase a mobile glass furnace that we take around. We had support from the Berks County Community Foundation to canvass the 7-block radius around this art center for about 90-minute interviews in Spanish with most of our neighbors and residents and community groups that surround us here. The process has been really, really interesting for me. We mentioned Mr. Boskov, and I'm no Albie Boskov, right? I mean, this is a man that threw out candy from a helicopter and inspired a city with his dreams. And he, with Mr. Miller and Mr. Cohen, they inspire me daily with the work and the dreams that they have. Craig Poole likes to say that we're Boskov dream makers, he and I agree. This is the dream he would have wanted, and Marlon reminds me of that every time we talk about it. But the work that we do and the way that we do it has been informed by this community, because part of what happened here was build it and they will come. But we all know that that can be a sort of backwards process. So it took us 15 years to make sure that we were relevant for this community, to make sure that we were inviting people in that maybe weren't artists yet, don't define themselves as artists. How many people here are artists? Yeah, give them a hand. They help shape our community. But I bet you'd be surprised if I asked the question a different way. How many people here make something? Yeah, that's a little better. How many people here are creative in the work that they do? Hey, now we're getting somewhere, right? I ask this question a lot because you might think, oh, here he's going to try to throw us all in a tent together. We had a young man come here once. I say young, he was probably in his 30s. And he had no articulate use of his hands or torso. And he came with his mother, and she said, we think there's some interest in creativity. He had trouble communicating. And she said, we want to see if there's something there. So we tied a laser pointer to his head and got volunteers to paint. And through blinking and hand motions and some yes and no, we were able to follow his hand motions and help him paint. Then moments later, someone from our virtual reality lab came over and said, I think we can do this on virtual reality. And of course, we're supportive. I'd like to think of myself as an innovator, but I like touching things with my hands. I'm a musician, I like ceramics, I like touching and feeling. So I'm always a little guarded when someone says, let's break out some new technology, right? We put this headset on this young man, and now he's gone from there's some interest in art to he's sculpting snowmen with his headset, because they were learning about snowmen in this curriculum. Then we hook up some 3D printers thanks to the launch box that's here, the Penn State Berks launch box. Now he's gone from interest in art to being a sculptor to taking home his very own sculpture that he now shows in galleries. What an incredible thing from someone who wouldn't have said, or maybe others wouldn't have said about him when he walked in here, that he was an artist. But he left an artist. And that's what this place can do. That's the dream we have, right? So you may not see yourself as an artist or an art enthusiast, but I challenge you to think about that as you leave here today. How can we help you? How can we help inspire you to build and make things here, right? In a second, I'm going to bring up Dr. Ridley, who's going to make an exciting announcement for a surprise guest. I tried to get him to break out of a cake, but we couldn't get that to happen. So, but I want to say a little bit more about this process. So when I mentioned that canvassing project, the Berks County Community Foundation funded us to go out with a bilingual canvasser and talk to everybody we could. Not just brief, here's a survey, or not just, we we've always had great input from our stakeholders, our artists and volunteers, and those that visit the campus. But we wanted to get to the people we never heard from. So we were like, how do we do that? And Johanny and others said, you got to go outside. You got to go knocking on doors. And so we learned a lot by that. And we also learned that people want to come to things outdoors when you go ask them, tell them what's happening. So we're committing that this is going to be an accessible, free space for people to come, that it'll be activated regularly by the work that we do and again by the partners that are in this space. And that's going to start in this space, the alleyway that's beside us. There's a stage there now. It's not going to quite look like that, but it'll give you an idea of what music can be like in that space. And so we're going to have an outdoor bar. We're going to have food is going to be a key component to what we do, because as so many have mentioned, the power of food in gardening has reshaped our entire thinking. There's some ideas that are so big they're paradigm shifters. And so when we hired Tiana and started to do the work in the garden, it started to change the way I thought about sustainability. Instead of just, how do I get us an endowment? How can I keep the walls from falling off? I started to think about, what can generations come to expect and love about our community? My two boys are back there now, and I had a dream where that Maria that I mentioned came out with her kids, and my kids had their kids. They were walking through this park, and that for me was the dream. So I mentioned food because not only are there great needs, and we need to start seeing art as more than on the walls and the pedestals. Art is a vehicle for change in our community to solve some of the biggest problems that we face. And so we have an exciting announcement in the food department. And for that, I'm going to welcome up our trustee and the chair of strategic partnerships, Dr. Rod Ridley.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for everybody for coming out. Nice and warm out here today. On behalf of the board, and thanks to Todd and all the board members that are sitting here, one I want to say is it's just humbling to even be a part of such a great board of directors, such visionaries, distinguished individuals, and very generous and caring about our community. And the project that you see before us is just evidence of that, caring about our community and wanting to transform our community. As a part of our strategic initiatives and part of what Levi has asked me to do is to start figuring out how do we form some partnerships to make sure that this goes beyond just what the GoggleWorks reach is, but reaching through partnerships to much greater levels. And I can think of nobody better than the distinguished individual we're going to bring up now as a key partner. One of the things that we're going to be doing in this new project is we're going to be reintroducing the idea of culinary arts, right? And food and enjoying food. And there's nobody better than my friend sitting here, Mr. Craig Poole from the DoubleTree. I'm happy to announce that a deal has been worked out where Craig and his team, Dan and the rest of the team from the DoubleTree and the DoubleTree Catering, are going to be retaking over the restaurant space that you all are familiar with inside the building, as well as the second floor venue that's upstairs, and providing catering not only within the building but catering in the community. And we also are working on some deals where it won't stop there. It will grow beyond that as far as learning and growing culinary arts as a part of our economic future in this region. So more to come on that one. But I want to bring up my friend here, Craig Poole, to say a few words about the partnership. Right.
Those of you who know me, I have a mic in my hand, so we'll be here a long time. But I want to thank you, and we're honored that, sorry, this wind is blowing all this hair in my face. But we're honored to be able to do this and to be part of the shared vision of GoggleWorks and the board. And we're thankful that you've allowed us to come into the GoggleWorks. We're thankful to Levi and everybody to invite us to be part of the GoggleWorks. Our shared vision is about the local community, employment in the community, healthy living in the community, food as medicine, and how do we get people engaged that live right around the street. Some of you may or may not, but also part of Habitat for Humanity. And we build houses just a few blocks from here. And we want to build more houses, and we want to put more people into homes, healthy living. And we've been blessed and highly favored to create a culture in our hotel where we grew, we got short of people, we actually have so many, we need more places to go to. Our business is thriving, we needed more space. This fits the space perfectly, and we're just thankful that we get to be here in this space. We will be hiring people walk to work. So the money that's made in the catering above here, it might have come from Philadelphia, or it might be coming from outside of Reading. Now the catering money that's brought here will be brought to Reading, and the paychecks will go to Reading. That's what we did. Thank you. But I want you to know that we're committed, highly committed. I think most of you know that that's how we do our operation. Food is art, and we're going to have a little restaurant here, and we're going to work it just like art, and we're going to be creative, because we're going to have people come here that work for us, and they're going to walk around and they're going to learn about art. They're going to learn about throwing clay and blowing glass and everything else that you need to do, because we're going to try to incorporate this facility into this theme of how we do our food. So this is our new palette. We're very excited about coming in. We're starting right away with the catering sales. And then shortly, as we go along, we'll be putting a restaurant inside of this. And then a restaurant outside, and who knows where else we're going to go. And hopefully, one day, a culinary school in this area right here. So that's the dream. And I also want to say, before I get down, that I do think that I'm Albert Boscoff's street maker. And I claim that along with Levi. And I'm committed. My commitment isn't for me, it's for Albert and for the community. But I will always honor this is his dream, so therefore it's my dream. He wants it a certain way, I want it the same way. He did a pretty good job creating this robot named Craig Poole to run the hotel. But really, he sits here every day and he says, don't do that, don't do that, do this. And so far he's been right. So I'm going to keep following Albert's dream, and we're honored we get to be part of it. So thankful that we got picked to do this, more than you would ever imagine. Highly favored, highly thankful, and we need your advice. What would you like for us to serve here? What do you see it? From the artists that are in here, what do you want? What do you want to eat? We want you to be successful. We'll figure out how to be successful after you become successful. So anyways, thank you. Thanks for giving me the mic.
Not only is culinary art, Ms. Solomon reminds me it's the only art form that uses all five senses. So we see it as particularly effective in sensory. The part that food plays a real role in at the first phase is in this space in Thorn Alley that, again, is just east of this building. And you get a chance to walk over there where the stage is, and you can see what it looks like now. Take a mental picture. It's going to really take shape. You won't see from the designs yet, but we plan to even open that up so you can actually go from the restaurant out into the beer garden and be served in the space in the alley as well. But we don't just see these as little outdoor decks and cafe spaces. We see these as spaces that are venues for art. And so a big push here is performing arts as well. I was really impressed when I finally learned that Mr. Poole used to run an incredible nightclub in Pittsburgh, because part of what we're trying to do is introduce performing arts in a very real and new way for us as well. Our dreams are really big, but I want to bring up the two designers that have helped lead this process. Our lead designer and landscape designer, Jeff Charlesworth, please come forward. And Lee Olson, the original architect of the site, who served as a consultant and project manager. I didn't ask them to prepare remarks, so they're off the hook. But I do want to have them here for questions. So I've been a little vague about some of this stuff, and I want to keep to a time schedule here. So before we get too far over schedule and we heard what the city's doing. But who has some questions about the design that we can answer? Is there anything that we can have them answer about timeline or components that you are interested in knowing about these spaces? Anybody have any questions? Whether it's press or partners or friends?
When
Well,
are you
that-
starting?
So in terms of timeline, phase one is imminent. We have meetings in September to do all the permitting through the city process, which we're told should be a short process. We plan to be constructing it in October. So that should be, by the end of the year, we'll have the first phase done. That's this space in the courtyard and the Thorn Alley. And then our timeline is a little bit more vague for the other pieces, and there's a reason for that. In the process of listening to our community, we learned we don't just want to build it and then say, what do you think? We really think that it's important to co-design the spaces. So we've been co-programming, co-designing the programs that will take place. We want to use this space as a pilot and try to see how things work. And then as we scale, we can do the phases, not only the planning, but the fundraising, and then ultimately the components. So we're going to have a series of workshops where people from this community can literally move blocks around to see where trees can go and things could take shape. We're going to ask a lot of opinions about what kinds of things you want to see in this space, but from what we've heard already, people are interested in a mini golf sculpture garden, a splash pad for kids, an amphitheater, things that really excite me, so I hope they excite you. I'll let you guys go. You're off the hook. They'll be here if you have any questions, if there's not anything in the packets, but I do want to acknowledge you both, and especially Mr. Charlesworth. Really innovative designs. Sandy tapped him early on in this process, and he just put his mind to making sure that this project not only had a beautification and created comfort and safety, but served the needs of a community that are significant. We have a vibrant community here, but we have a lot of needs that need to be served, so we want to think about those broadly. I want to leave you just with a couple of things, and the first is I'd like to have just a moment of silence. We've had a few names thrown around that I do want to acknowledge, and they're so important to the work that we do here. The first is Mr. Albert Boskov, who passed away a few years ago, and is really the Jiminy Cricket of this place. I mean, his consciousness reigns, as Mr. Poole said, on our shoulders as we do the work that we do. And the late Irv Cohn, an incredible founder, co-founder here, with now his wife Lois, who passed away. So I want to acknowledge those three, among many other founders who have done so much to make this place exist. So let's just give them a moment of silence. Well, thank you. There's so many other people I could acknowledge. I want to thank my staff. You guys nailed this. Not just this event, but so much of what we're doing is taking shape from the work that you do